Venezuela's Vice President, TeleSUR Rodriguez, pays an official visit to Switzerland as part of her official agenda to enhance cooperation between Caracas and international organizations. Swedish prosecutors confirmed that the explosions of the Nord Stream 1 and Nord Stream 2 pipelines in September were an act of sabotage. And the Presidential Summit of Leaders of the Asia-Pacific Economic Cooperation Forum kicked off in Thailand, focused on promoting sustainable development and facilitating regional trade. From the headquarters of TeleSUR English in Havana, Cuba, this is From the South. I'm your anchor, Gladys Quesada, and these are the news. In Switzerland, Venezuela's Vice President, TeleSUR Rodriguez, continues with her official agenda aimed at advancing cooperation between Caracas and international organizations. TeleSUR Rodriguez held a brief meeting with the Director General of the United Nations Office in Geneva, Tatiana Valovaya, where they discussed general issues of multilateralism and its current challenges. In addition, the Venezuelan official met with the Secretary General of the UN Conference on Trade and Development, Rebecca Greenspan, to discuss cooperation for the economy of the country and to overcome the difficulties generated by the blockade. Colombia's Congress approved the tax reform bill proposed by President Gustavo Petro, aimed at guaranteeing resources for social programs and providing stability to public finances. The tax reform proposal was approved with 63 votes in favor and 18 votes against. The bill cleared its final hurdle after passing in the House of Representatives with 122 votes in favor and 27 against. Some amendments were made to secure a consensus, but the central aspects of the proposal remained largely intact. The bill created a new wealth tax targeting people with over $500,000 in assets, progressively increasing rates up to 1.5% of their fortunes yearly. The energy and mining sector will also be taxed. The National Assembly of Ecuador approved a report that establishes state and political accountability in the disappearance and femicide of Maria Belén Bernal. The report was approved with 96 votes in favor and 7 abstentions. The legislative body appointed an assembly member to lead the political trial against former Minister of the Interior, Patricio Carrillo, Security Minister, Diego Ordóñez, and the Secretary of Human Rights, Paola Flores, for non-compliance with their duties in this case. The report, drafted by a special commission, included that the state is responsible for the actions and omissions that led to human rights violations against Bernal, her mother, and her son. Among the entities accountable are the Presidency of the Republic and the National Intelligence Secretariat. Bernal's murder sparked protests claiming justice and a tougher punishment for those accountable in gender violence crimes. The Haitian Ministry of Health reported that 174 people have died since October this year over the cholera outbreak that affects the nation. According to the Health Ministry, 117 deaths were recorded in this hospital in the country, while 57 people died at home. It also stated that 9 departments reported 800 confirmed cases and over 9,000 suspected cases of cholera. United Nations Office for the Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs highlighted the vulnerability of pregnant women, especially in the 3rd semester of pregnancy. Cuban President Miguel Díaz-Canel Bermudez continues his official visit to Algeria with important achievements in the economic, commercial, financial, and cooperation matters. The Cuban head of state discussed bilateral relations with his Algerian counterpart Abdelmajid Tebboune and agreed on the importance of their resumption. Meanwhile, President Tebboune stated that his nation will restart energy and fuel supplies to Cuba and donate a solar plant to help the island tackle power cuts and fuel shortages. He also vowed to cancel interest payments on Cuban debt. Miguel Díaz-Canel's visit to Africa's biggest gas exporter is the first stop on a tour that will also include Russia, Turkey, and China. And the platform through which the world's leaders communicate important decisions to their citizens is at risk. The policies of Twitter's current owner, Elon Musk, have triggered mass resignations, and offices are being ordered to close for fears of sabotage. The company's headquarters in San Francisco, in the western United States, has displayed an illuminated sign that denounces the start of a dictatorship, pointing to Elon Musk. Hours earlier, hundreds of employees left the company, opting for severance package rather than the hard demand of the company's CEO. In view of the seriousness of the situation, several Democratic senators have asked the Federal Trade Commission to take action on possible labor rights violations. In the United States, Republicans in Congress go on their campaign promise of auditing the financial aid to Ukraine. The leader of the Republican Party in the House of Representatives, Marjorie Taylor Greene, said that they will submit all the military, civilian, and financial aid to Democrats provided to Ukraine to a review. She said that the pictures of mutilated or disabled Ukrainian soldiers displayed in the hallways of Congress have been used to pressure the House to grant more aid. Taylor said Washington is financing Ukraine, and she ironically referred to Ukraine as the 51st state. We'll take a short break, but first, remember you can follow us on our TikTok account at TeleSUR English, in which you will be able to see news in different formats, news, updates, and more. Other stories coming up, stay with us. From prosecution on the Nord Stream 1 and the Nord Stream 2 pipelines in September were an act of sabotage. Mats Junkiewicz, the prosecutor in charge of the case, explained that the investigations carried out in the Baltic Sea show explosive residues in several of the objects collected. Acknowledging that the preliminary study is very complex and extensive, he is confident that the ongoing investigations can reveal a suspect for this crime. The Swedish official also assured that the cooperation of authorities in other countries with Sweden is excellent. Poland's government denounces pressure from Kiev. The administration of Volodymyr Zelensky wants to be part of the investigation into the responsibility for the launching of the missile that Polish territory. Ukrainian Minister of Foreign Affairs Dmytro Kuleba demanded prompt access to the investigation. On Thursday, the Polish authorities informed that they will allow Kiev to know the progress of the investigation, but not to be part of the process. President Volodymyr Zelensky himself confirmed that the missile that killed 2 people was launched by the Russian forces. However, both Warsaw and Washington, and even NATO, ratified that it belongs to Ukraine. The Ukrainian president has moderated his speech, but insists on intervening in the investigation. Russia's Defense Ministry chief spokesperson Igor Konashenkov confirmed on Friday that Russian armed forces carried out a strike with the use of high-precision long-range air, sea and land weapons on Ukrainian targets of military management. The strikes were also performed on defense of industrial complex and on fuel and energy infrastructure. According as a result of the strike, an arsenal with artillery supplied by Western countries and prepared for sending to Ukrainian troops was destroyed. The Russian Defense Ministry also announced that Moscow forces took control of the village of Obtin, around 10 kilometers northwest of Donetsk People's Republic.
On 17 November, Russian armed forces carried out a strike with the use of high-precision, long-range air, sea and land-based weapons on Ukrainian objects of military management, on defense and industrial complex, and on fuel and energy infrastructure related to it. Goals of strikes have been achieved. All missiles hit the necessary targets. Missile production facilities have been struck as a result of the attack. Arsenal with artillery supplied by Western countries and prepared for sending to Ukrainian troops has been destroyed. The deployment of reserves from Ukrainian armed forces and the delivery of foreign weapons to combat areas have been disrupted.
The Presidential Summit of Leaders of the Asia-Pacific Economic Cooperation Forum kicked off in Thailand with a focus on promoting sustainable development, facilitating trade and investment in the region. At the start of the multilateral event, Thai Prime Minister Prayut Chan-o-cha called on the leaders to address the economic effects left by the pandemic, among other global issues such as the climate crisis around the world. The Thai president called on the counterparts for greater to prevent the crisis and a transition to a new wave of life. During the conclave, the president of China, Xi Jinping, described the role of the Asia-Pacific region as the most important and affirmed that in recent years it has become the main engine of global growth. The tensions on the Korean peninsula continues to escalate. Seoul and Washington carry out a series of bombing raids in the sea. The operation is described as a response to Pyongyang. Targeted bombing from F-35 fighters, in addition to other maneuvers, are being conducted in the sea, supported by fleets of fifth-generation aircraft. The South Korea Joint Chiefs of Staff also reports that 4 U.S. F-16s have conducted combat formation flights. This military operation comes after Japan and South Korea denounced Pyongyang's launch of an intercontinental missile. Democratic People's Republic of Korea, which celebrates Mother's Day on Friday, has not issued a statement. And the U.S. Vice President Kamala Harris summoned her partners at the Asia-Pacific Cooperation Forum Summit for an urgent meeting after a missile strike in Japan's exclusive economic zone. The emergency meeting has been set on the sidelines of the summit being held in Bangkok, Thailand. The U.S. Vice President has referred to the launch of an alleged North Korean missile as a very serious development and a blatant violation of multiple U.S. security agreements. Altering the forum's agenda, Harris met with the representatives of South Korea, Australia, Canada, and Japan. The Japanese Prime Minister has expressed serious concern over the situation.
The ballistic missile launched by Democratic People's Republic of Korea is believed to have landed in our exclusive economic zone west of Hokkaido. We made a stern protest to Democratic People's Republic of Korea. They repeated provocative actions with unprecedented frequency. We strongly state again that this is absolutely unacceptable.
In the face of escalating tensions in the Korean peninsula and the alarms raised by Washington and the Asia-Pacific Cooperation Forum Summit, Chinese President Xi Jinping has called for peace and stability in the region. Speaking at the 29th APEC summit in Bangkok, President Xi called for restraint, for the region plays a more important role than ever as an engine in global growth. The Chinese leader also raised his voice against unilateralism, protectionism, and the disruption of supply chains, as he called on the region to strive for greater international justice and to foster inclusiveness and solidarity. And we have more news coming up after a final short break, so stay with us. Welcome back to From the South. In Palestine, a fire that broke out in the northern Gaza Strip killed at least 21 people in one of the deadliest incidents in recent years. According to Palestinian authorities, the blaze erupted on the third floor of a three-story building in the Jabaliyah refugee camp. The Israeli defense in Gaza attributed the cause of the fire to gasoline that was being stored in the building, although it was not immediately clear how the gasoline ignited. Gaza, which is under a crippling Israeli blockade, faces a severe energy crisis. Therefore, people often store cooking gas, diesel and gasoline in homes in preparation for winter. Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas offered condolences to the families of the dead and declared Friday a day of mourning. On Thursday, the World Health Organization, the WHO, said Uganda will receive the Sudan strain Ebola trial vaccine next week, as the East African country struggles with containing the spread of the deadly disease. Local authorities will evaluate the efficacy of 3 trial vaccines, which include Oxford from Britain, Sabin, and Merck from the United States. According to the WHO representative to Uganda, Jonas Tegan Wold Mariam, the contacts of confirmed cases and health workers will be the first to receive the vaccine. The Ministry of Health has already informed the trial vaccines have been tested and are safe for humans. WHO figures show the total of 141 confirmed Ebola infections and 55 fatalities so far. The government of France announces the suspension of development aid to Mali amid tensions with the military junta that controls the country since the 2020 coup. According to French diplomatic sources quoted by the newspaper Le Monde, the government announced the aid suspension because of the alleged deployment of the Russian group One on Malian territory. The Southern Coordination, made up of 35 NGOs active in Mali, sent a letter warning of the measures for the activities suspension that will benefit the population in poverty. The announcement comes after the President of France, Emmanuel Macron, made official the end of the Operation Barkhane in the middle of the withdrawal of international troops due to the tensions with the military junta. Now we move on to other topics. Egyptian Foreign Minister Sameh Khoury, who chairs the COP27 climate conference, confirmed the talks that were supposed to end on Friday were extended by a day in an effort to break a deadlock over creating a fund for developing countries devastated by climate change.
We need to shift gears again. Time is not on our side. Dear friends, I remain committed to bringing this conference to a close tomorrow in an orderly manner with the adoption of a series of consensus decisions that will be comprehensive, ambitious, and balanced.
In Egypt, the European Union announces on Friday that it will accept, with conditions, the creation of a fund to finance the losses and damages caused by climate change in poor countries. Europe, under pressure from a large number of countries at COP27, decided to accept the creation of a fund for the future with the aim of combating global warming. However, it set out a series of demands that will make the negotiations drag on for longer, which is why the first draft on the final declaration has not been released. Among the conditions is that the fund must be linked to a greater ambition in cutting greenhouse gas emissions. For this reason, all signatories of the 2015 Paris Agreement must present climate plans in line with the current era. Antigua and Barbuda's Environment Minister called on Friday for an agreement from all parties regarding proposals on loss and damage funding due to climate change and pollution. Molwyn Joseph, who was speaking on behalf of small island states at the United Nations Climate Summit in Sharm el-Sheikh, said that the European Union proposal on the issue, which came late on Thursday, was being reviewed and areas of adjustment were being identified. The proposal will tie the compensation for climate disasters to tougher emissions cuts, two of the thorniest issues at the meeting. Meanwhile, Antigua and Barbuda's Environment Minister is due to hold separate talks with China and the United States representatives in the summit. And we have come to the end of this news brief. But remember, you can find this and many other stories on our website at telesurenglish.net. And also, if you feel so inclined, please join us on social media for all the latest news. We are on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Telegram, and TikTok. For TeleSUR English, I'm your anchor, Gladys Quesada. Thank you for watching.